I have been charged $1,400 by my homeowners association because you can park something like this, but not this in your driveway. $500 in pennies. We have $200 in nickels. We got $200 in dimes and $500 in quarters. We are loaded up. We got 6 buckets full of coins with a little bit more manageable weight to carry them for each one. And we are headed over to the president's house now to pay my fine for parking my nice pickup truck in my driveway. Unbelievable. Hey, is Bill available?
Yes, he is.
Great. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Pretty good. What can I do for you?
Here's my payment, $1,400 for parking my truck in my driveway. Yeah, well, this is a
cases,
federal
I've
law.
dealt with it.
It's for a fine, it's money owed, it's a
That's
debt.
right.
Have a good day. See you later, Bill.
Bill has a lot of counting to do, and that's how you do it, boys. And the HOAs, they're just a bunch of statist communists. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into today. As, of course, our neighbors to the north aren't doing so well as they're doing some really bad stuff that is going to be making their way down south here to the United States, as there's also some major statements made by Vladimir Putin as the U.S. economy isn't doing too well. And we're going to be discussing that plus all the latest news here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was originally highlighted, I guess, on TikTok, while it's still available here in the United States from @Dr.Mitchell, who is dealing with some problems with some central controllers in his neighborhood that don't like him parking a truck in his own driveway that he paid for with his money that was already stolen from the state. As people telling you what you need to do with your own property is absolutely infuriating, and it's becoming normal practice as HOAs are being normalized everywhere, as they regulate, fine, and control people's lives for their own personal benefit, and in many instances, empower themselves, lie, cheat, and steal to the point where they get to punish people, take away their money for parking their own cars in their own driveways. This, as all forms of transportation in the United States are heavily taxed, regulated, controlled, and becoming less and less efficient, as we recently found out that according to the New York Times, Boeing failed over 37% of FAA audits when it comes to safety and quality control of their aircraft, as they reported 97 instances of non-compliance and, quote, failure to comply with quality and safety issues, as Boeing recently fired their head of the 737 MAX program, and there was a whistleblower that very surprisingly decided also to take his own life right before testifying against Boeing. This, as a lot of companies aren't doing too well here in the United States, as Anheuser-Busch just slid 4% after major controversy with that company exposed how they were trying to sell liquor to small children through Dylan Mulvaney, which absolutely backfired, as they're doing everything they can in their power except to apologize to, of course, make people continue to drink their fluoridated beverages. All of this as schemers and criminals are devising new ways of just trying to make their illicit, illegal means help pay the bills, as CNBC is reporting about new refund schemes that are costing Amazon and other retailers billions of dollars. This, as the President of the United States had this to say about his failing Build Back Better Bidenomics policies that have absolutely wrecked the economy.
So now we have among the lowest inflation rates of any country in America, and we're still fighting to lower it even further.
What? Huh? Yes, we have the lowest inflation rates of any country in America. I guess that statement is true. Yes, of course, the tough financial times are affecting everyone and are creating a lot of problems in our society that the government is coming back in and saying, hey, we'll solve them if we take more of your money and your rights away, which, of course, created the problem in the first place. This, as Canada is looking to implement new, absolutely Orwellian online speech laws that will punish and possibly imprison people for life for saying things that other people didn't like. Yes, you heard that correctly. The situation in Canada has just gotten extremely worse with the Online Harm Act, which, quote, is designated to make social media platforms, quote, safer, aka clean of any kind of conversations or talking points that the government doesn't want you talking about. This as even Canadians who have dealt with a lot of overreach from the government are saying that this is a major overreach from the government. Even the Handmaid's Tale author came out and said that the bill was Orwellian, as the law gives judges the power to imprison adults for life if they advocated for the alleged elimination of a people's. Again, very vague interpretations here that could be implemented in many different ways, as in Canada now, where self-defense and other tools linked to it are now deemed illegal. Police officers in one province are telling people to leave their car keys at the front door so armed criminals could just steal your car and not take your life. Yes, you heard that correctly. Here's the clip itself.
There's also updated advice for all vehicle owners, a message echoed by Toronto police speaking at an Etobicoke safety meeting last month. Constable Marco Ricciardi had a new message for vehicle owners who keep their fobs in Faraday pouches.
To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door, because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toys, they're real guns. They're loaded.
That's why Galinsky says they will be installing the door stops and taking YPR's advice seriously. But she'd like more action from police as well.
This as the police are busy taking away firearms from legal citizens and preventing them from being able to defend themselves, leaving them in a vulnerable situation as the state says, good luck, guys, just give up your property. We can't help you here. As what's happening in Canada truly is an important learning lesson that we have seen throughout history many, many freaking times, as of course, first, they get rid of the self-defense tools, and then they get rid of your ability to actually speak and think freely, as it's fair to say that this is the protocol that Canada is following, as of course there have been very strict restrictions placed on individuals just wanting to, of course, be able to defend themselves against criminals who are no longer allowed to do so. Ever since the government was allowed to take away defensive tools from the local populations, leaving them defenseless, now they're going after their ability to talk and think. And that's exactly what they did to Jordan Peterson, that had to capitulate to the, quote, woke mob as he lost his battle with a college university that took away his degree and are forcing him to undergo through social media training because he expressed thoughts and opinions that the university and the state didn't like. Yes, re-education camps normalized for individuals like Jordan Peterson, who I disagree with many of his thoughts and ideas, but a lot of them just kind of boil down to cleaning up your own room, which is a controversial take that, of course, the Canadians really don't like. I guess they really like their rooms messy. But for a man to go through social media training because of thoughts and opinions that someone didn't like is absolutely freaking absurd and highlights how the state absolutely does not have their priorities straight. As of course, just a couple months ago, the Canadian government froze bank accounts of family members who were peacefully protesting the Canadian government locking them down, shutting down businesses and churches for, of course, non-scientific reasons that soon came out to be arbitrary and totally made up by politicians. Now, it's very interesting to see this conversation being started in Canada, as of course many people believe the country is far gone, as some people are standing up and saying this is even too far to be far gone here, as a lot of people are afraid of the government saying that they're here to, quote, protect free speech by eliminating free speech. And to allow these stiffer sentences for alleged hate speech highlights an encroaching danger that individuals like Margaret Atwood, Elon Musk, and others are calling out, as of course it deserves to be called out, as there's a larger possibility for individuals to be falsely accused here. And as we've seen in Europe, a lot of this legislation is used politically for one side to punish another, preventing them from expressing thoughts and opinions that the government wants to suppress. As even the Wall Street Journal wrote a very interesting opinion piece about this, saying, quote, Online Harm Act, crime and punishment, quote, not in that order. This as, again, the legislation is vague and it allows house arrest for prospective offensive for thought criminals that could allegedly, potentially release some information or thoughts that the government didn't approve of. All the while, here in the United States, there are mainline corporate news anchors like Don Lemon that are literally calling for more suppression of speech because of people's opinions that were hurt by it. And again, this whole argument is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, there's a lot of mean, awful individuals online. Those individuals only have power if you give them power. Because if someone says something, the only legitimacy that you give them is through your reaction that you control as an individual. And if people understood, hey, you're personally responsible for your own kind of feelings and emotions here. If you don't want to be on the internet, you don't have to be on the internet. If you don't want to see a particular comment, you don't have to see a particular comment. You could block and curate your own kind of experience here on social media. And the more you try to suppress thoughts and ideas, the more you try to eliminate them, the more they fester and grow in individuals. And if you truly wanted to stop radicalization, you would allow individuals to talk to each other freely to be able to be de-radicalized. If you want to radicalize individuals, you of course tell people that they can't have certain thoughts and expressions, which of course is more likely to make them have those thoughts and expressions, doubling down and making them go to the furthest corners of the internet, radicalizing them even more. And again, free speech is an essential for a free society. The two cannot work together without each other. And in many instances, already here inside of the United States, the First Amendment has been trampled on and destroyed through the intelligence agency's control of big tech social media companies that, of course, censor, demonetize, downrank, and destroy independent content creators that have been proving the establishment to be lying to us through many, many instances now, as of course, we've seen throughout the last few years, independent content creators that get their news outside of the tightly controlled establishment grid were right. The establishment, the corporate media, the CNNs, the Don Lemons, the Chris Cumos of the world were lying to us within the last few years, blatantly through their teeth. All of this as even questions have been raised about the latest practices from Elon Musk and Twitter, as it's one reason out of many reasons why I'm very happy I have Unfiltered.com, our own not-so-quasi secret society that, of course, allows us to just talk to each other, organize, link up, talk about ideas, and grow and do really cool stuff with. As, of course, we have a forum. We have in real life meetups. We do contests. We do giveaways. If you're a member and you talk to us and you actually call into our live show, which we do now 3 days out of the week, you have a direct line of communication to me. You get to call into the show. You get to ask a question like you want to without any interference, without anyone standing in your way, as we fully allow free speech on our platform. And we get to do really cool stuff. We're going to be doing another in real life meetup in about 3 weeks from now here in Southern Florida. As of course, the last one was really incredible, really great. I'm going to be working with one of the people that I just met in that meetup that is going to be helping us grow and expand this studio. Lots of opportunities to get your hands dirty, to get on the ground and be a part of this independent media organization. And whether it's $8, $15, $99, whatever you can do, if you thought about signing up, now's the time to do it. As of course, we are going to be having a special broadcast right after this one, going after some very interesting ideas that we can only discuss on, of course, LukeUnfiltered.com. I shot a very interesting video yesterday regarding health and nature that was definitely a major white pill. If you haven't had the chance to check that video out, check it out right now. And I think it's important for us to understand the larger battles out there and how absolutely imperative it is to take care of yourself. We focus on that as well as other important information centered towards helping you become the healthiest, happiest version of yourself, all through LukeUnfiltered.com. So if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? You also get a lot of masterclasses. You also get a lot of resources to help you make sure that you pick out the right items at the grocery store, that you don't get seed oils at your restaurant that you love to go to, and the small amount of differences that you can make, we all prioritize, highlight, and talk about extensively on LukeUnfiltered.com, where you could get 10 plus years of videos only exclusively just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com that are joining our little exclusive club that It's awesome. The people who call in, the people who I meet up in real life, the people who I talk to all the time, really incredible people. You could be one of those people right now just by simply clicking the link down in the description below, and I will see you there right after this broadcast where the conversation continues in a more honest, earnest, unfiltered way. As, of course, we're still not done here, as there's a lot of important geopolitical news to get into as well, as, of course, there's a lot of news surrounding Russia and China that I think is worth discussing, as we are getting information from the Daily Mail that allegedly Russia is beating us in Ukraine, that China is outnumbering the United States in the sea, as, quote, the army is collapsing and the air force is falling from the sky, as there are some considerations to do more budget cuts from the U.S. military-industrial complex that, of course, is the biggest military in the world. This as geopolitically, some of the moves made by the Biden administration and their foreign policy are absolutely bewildering. A lot of them are nonsensical, and a lot of them are also very dangerous, as the president of Russia just announced that, quote, we're ready for nuclear war, and they have been conducting a lot of war games, a lot of drills, a lot of particular activities centered around this particular situation, as, in my opinion, they are becoming the most nuclear-prepared country in the world, with Vladimir Putin saying specifically on Sputnik, if the existence of the Russian state is at stake, if our sovereignty and independence is at stake, it's all written down in our strategy. We haven't changed it. Saying specifically, if countries have no red lines for Russia, we will have no red lines for them. And one of the biggest statements saying nuclear weapons exist in order to, quote, use them. This as the statements from the 71-year-old leader of Russia are becoming more and more aggressive as the situation becomes more unstable in Europe. As for the Ukrainians, their latest incursions into Russian territory does definitely point to larger problems in the region that soon could expand and grow towards proportions that will not be favorable to anyone in this world. As, of course, tensions in the north also are rising, especially with the growth of NATO all around the Russian border and their planned expansion all throughout it. Now, what will be the response to all of this? What will be Russia's red line? What is our red line? Well, no one knows here, as, of course, diplomacy has taken a backseat in exchange for military aggression that literally now has Ukrainian soldiers going into Russia, attacking Russian cities, which Putin previously declared was something that could spark a larger nuclear fallout and conflict in the region. Now, will that happen? I hope not. What do you think are the percentages that it will? Let me know down in the comment section below. As, of course, this is not a good situation. There should be diplomacy. A lot of Democratic establishment politicians are holding on to this conflict during an election cycle in order to have a favorable election result. And if we're causing so much human suffering, so much life loss, if there's so much at stake here, we should question what in the world is going on here, and we should have leadership that should prioritize, the safety and well-being of the entire world over, of course, favorable election results. As it's fair to say, if Ukraine falls, so will the major democratic power establishment that propped it up and forced it to fight this larger conflict that, of course, it has been significantly undermanned, underarmed to handle. And again, the situation is bleak. It doesn't look good, as the Ukrainians might resort to some very desperate tactics as they're literally invading Russia. Not a good sign here. That's just my 2 cents. If you agree with me, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever. And because you do, that's why I'm still here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for one more video on LukeUnfiltered.com. See you guys soon. The conversation continues there.